Welcome to Application, the TYPO3 Community Podcast. 1, 2. Welcome to Application, the TYPO3 Community Podcast. I'm Jeffrey A. McGuire. You can call me Jam. And this is where we celebrate the TYPO3 community, sharing your stories, talking about your projects and the difference you make in, around, and with TYPO3 CMS. Today on Application, the TYPO3 Community Podcast, I talk with Luisa Faßbender about her path from student to intern to agency job to TYPO3 Community Marketing Lead, and how the pandemic of 2020 helped kick off her master's degree. We discuss helping clients making good decisions and building trust, the cycle of inspiration, and Luisa's favorite thing about TYPO3. Hint, it's all about the structure for her. I hope you enjoy this episode at least as much as I enjoyed speaking with Luisa to put it together.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
You in the office in Düsseldorf?
Yeah. Mondays, Thursdays are my office days since June or something. And where are you? Are you at the WeWork space or?
I am actually. Yep. I think I filled you in on what we're doing here, but the association was kind enough to be interested in having a TYPO3 podcast, and I think for myself that it goes pretty well with the sort of activities you're doing and the sort of things that that we care about in this open source community. And my interest is sharing the stories behind this technology and this community and this project, and I'm really interested in what it does and what the value it is that it delivers to people, of course, but I'm also really keen to introduce some people to the community and have this as another way that people can learn about what's going on in the whole ecosystem. And you were very high up on my list. Thank you for accepting.
Thanks for inviting me.
I have not got an official tagline or intro spiel or anything yet, but this is the probably official TYPO3 podcast. And today I am speaking with Luisa Faßbender. Luisa Faßbender comes from the border between Holland and Germany and works at a little TYPO3 company in Düsseldorf called
Marketing Factory Consulting GmbH.
Marketing Factory Consulting GmbH. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do privately, personally, and what do you do professionally?
Let's start with the professional part. I've been working at Marketing Factory as a project assistant for 3 years doing my dual studies for my bachelor's degree. Then I converted to a full-time job, and I've been here ever since for 2 years now. And now I've just started my master's degree in marketing and communications on the side. So I do a full-time job during the week and then an evening and Saturday study master thesis type additionally.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Did you need a hobby? Is that did you have too much time on your hands?
Yeah, due to Corona, I wanted to start my master's degree last year. But then things came up and I just didn't really feel like doing it. And I felt overwhelmed concerning there was so many parties going on and you were always trying to meet your friends and that's all gone. So yeah, I basically needed a hobby and I thought why not start now?
Oh, how interesting. Wait a minute. So I'm going to pull that apart for a second. You wanted to continue your education in this way, but your social life felt like too much like it was getting in the way. And so the 2020 pandemic is actually got a silver lining for you.
Yeah, because I was thinking about what I could do in my free time if I'm stuck at home. So yeah, I thought about maybe learning a new language, but then I thought if you don't start your master's degree now, I'm not going to start when I'm 30. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
And I mean, new languages are fine, and we have lots of global communication channels now, but a lot of people like to learn new languages because they want to travel, right? And travel is not something I want to think about right now still.
Yeah, probably not for a couple of months. So
right. Whenever you're listening to this podcast, dear listeners, watchers, readers, we are speaking in October 2020 in real time, and we're both based in Germany, and things are okay here, although I happen to know that Luisa lives in one of the hardest hit parts of the country. But things are tricky, and there's not a lot of places that we can go easily. So it's a very strange time. Right. But I believe I interrupted you. So you spent 3 years on internship working sort of combination in Germany. This dual study is really interesting. People can be paid professionals and study at the same time. And now you've been working full time 2 years. And now are you still working? You said you're working full time while you're doing your master's.
Yeah, it's 5 days a week of working at the office or at home, whatever's like, it depends on the day. Like, as I said, Mondays and Thursdays, I'm usually in Düsseldorf, and the other 3 days I'm at home. And then I have classes on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So
online.
Yeah, most of the time. If we're less than 50 people, it's on site, but it's also in Düsseldorf. But that happened like 2 times so far. So
what are you going into in your master's?
It's marketing and communications.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, pretty fitting with my role at the TYPO3 Association as well.
Right. I want to touch on that for sure. What is it that you do at your company nowadays, and what does that have to do with TYPO3?
I'm still working as a project manager, so I am taking care of clients' needs and requests, and I'm forwarding them either to our developers. I'm writing offers, I'm writing invoices, I'm creating concepts, and we are mostly working with TYPO3 as our CMS of choice. So that's how I got into TYPO3 in the first place. We do work with WordPress and Symfony. Besides that, in other projects, it depends on what the different requirements are, but mostly we do TYPO3.
Sure. I mean, every project has a more appropriate set of tools and a less appropriate set of tools, and there are plenty of choices out there. And how you help your clients, I think, and how you do best for your company, you must know quite a lot about TYPO3 itself and getting it implemented to be able to make an effective offer and promise timelines and such. And I believe you're also a certified TYPO3 integrator. Is that right?
Not yet. I'm working on it. So far, I'm just an editor and a consultant, but I want to get more into the technical stuff, so I'm working on that as well.
Okay, so TYPO3 certification in this community is something that I really want to explore with other guests on the podcast. But you've got two of the possible 4 certifications: editor, integrator, developer, and
consultant.
You certainly know your way around a TYPO3 installation and have an idea about the scope of when I ask for something, you tell me I'm crazy and that'll take way too much time and cost way too much money.
Yeah, and again, it should always be your goal as a project manager in TYPO3 to know more about the project, the customer's project, than the customer itself. Because it's not really professional if someone calls and it's like, oh, it doesn't work. And you're just like, yeah, I can see that it doesn't work. And that's like all you can offer them. Yeah.
Was your discovery of TYPO3 also your first introduction to open source?
Yeah, it was. I didn't plan on going into the tech or IT sector at all before, so that might be interesting.
And what happened?
I actually wanted to go into the like fashion sector because my mom's a fashion designer, and I worked at a wedding dress store for 3 years besides my high school. But then I learned about how hard the fashion sector is and that it's pretty bitchy and you probably don't have a lot of chances if you don't have a lot of money there. So yeah, I kind of stumbled upon Marketing Factory without any deeper thoughts. And that's how I got in. That's how I first learned about open source, to be honest. I never knew about that before.
So as they say in Germany, learning by doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you have a first memory of learning about open source and these concepts? Was there a moment where you're like, whoa, it's free, or how do you make money? Or was there a culture shock there at any point?
Definitely, because like if you don't know anything about CMSs or like open source in general, the concept of having a free software that's supported by a lot of people who do it in their free time or who just enjoy making the product better is really weird. And I remember I started here in September, and there's the TYPO3 camp in Rhein-Ruhr in Essen in November each year. And they invited me to come, but I didn't because I was kind of scared because I was 19, like, you know, that, I don't know. And they were just talking about, oh, there are so many enthusiasts, and this guy just did a new extension and he presented about that. And the concept of that was so far out of my scope that I didn't really know what to think of it. And I actually just started learning about what open source actually means and what the community part means when I went to my first TYPO3 camp, which was a year later.
Yeah. So okay, so you found your feet and got used to the geeks in the office before you went out into the community. But nowadays you're right in the middle of contributing and giving presentations yourself, right?
Yeah, correct. I actually did my first 3 presentations this year, also thanks to Corona probably, because they were all online. Yeah, and I just really like giving presentations, which is weird because I used to hate giving presentations in high school or even during my bachelor degree. Yeah, but somehow I really enjoy it, so I would like to continue doing that.
And what's the motivation? What is it that you enjoy about it?
I love when I meet new people, and I love talking about things that really interest me and that motivate me. And it's even more, how do I say that? I love seeing that people are motivated by what I am doing and what the marketing team, for example, is doing. Because I get lots of good feedback and that motivates me to do better. And then that's like a cycle that repeats. So
Nice.
that's probably the best part.
So a cycle of inspiration, maybe.
Yeah. Because now I really understand the slogan, inspiring people to share. Because in the beginning, I didn't think I could contribute anything that would inspire anyone for anything.
TYPO3 is not the only open source project I'm involved in. I've always felt that this open source community experience, I really enjoyed your explanation now, because I think that going to the events or writing blog posts, there's this idea that, I had this terrible problem and I fixed it now, and let me show you what I did so that you don't have to go through that. And there's that generosity of ideas beyond anything about clients or money or being a professional or a developer or not. It's this idea of let me show you this cool thing that I found, you know? I really love that feeling. I really do.
Me too. And you just immediately feel included. Like there was no point where I came into a room and felt left out, which was also something I didn't expect.
Terrific. Yeah. I had very early open source experiences in communities that were quote unquote developers only, and that was I think that was uncomfortable at the time, but I think the whole thing has come a long way since then. I think especially a CMS community that has reached a certain size, because the CMS itself is very much on the public end of software, right? It's the stuff that everybody interacts with because it makes websites. Because there's so much there that's to be sort of seen and touched and understood, that it's quite easy to understand that in the end you need a lawyer and a business person and a designer and a developer and all these other skill sets. And I think that came a long way. And not every community gets that. It's still, which is also kind of weird.
When was your first contact with any kind of open source community?
2005.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep, 2005. I started building websites in 2006. And with Drupal.
Okay.
To be fair, I started building websites with pure HTML and CSS, and then with PHP placeholders, and then with content management systems. And because of my circle of friends and so on, I use Drupal, and Drupal's another community that I'm still involved in, and another system that has a strengths of its own, although it's sort of in competition with TYPO3. There is so much more web out there and so much more digital stuff out there that I don't think that anybody has to, steal things from each other when we can go and help so many people. By sometime in 2007, I think I was working full time with open source software to make my living. And by 2008, I'd actually gotten a job at a startup. So, and the rest has been a lot of, a lot. So what's the coolest thing you've ever done with TYPO3 so far?
The coolest thing is probably we did a completely new site for an existing customer, which they had a TYPO3 installation before, which was based on, I think, 7.6. And it was like at least 12 years old. And I got the project from my boss to take care of it. And they wanted to do a complete relaunch. So TYPO3 version 9, because it was done last year. And yeah, we were thinking about if we would like to do an upgrade. So an upgrade path and migrating contents and whatever. But I was actually able to convince them to just start on a new basis because they had like this huge, it's an American company. And they had this huge customer structure, which was so outdated. Like I think 80% of the customers in the database were outdated. And yeah, we were actually able to convince them to start fresh. And
Nice.
We did a completely new concept and completely built the whole customer management structure new. So that was really cool.
Nice.
So it's now a document database and a customer administration database, which can be used completely in the front end. So no administrators need to go into the backend anymore, which was the part that confused them the most in the old one.
Oh, I guess it gives you some more security and stability on the whole thing as well.
Yeah, because it was always like the backend was really slow because there were like, I don't know, 20,000 customers in the backend and they all needed to be in a certain folder and they needed to have like 3 different elements created. It was really something. So we've just cut that all out. So now it's actually pretty quick, and yeah, we don't need backend accesses anymore, which is also really important because there are lots of like important documents which shouldn't be seen by everyone. So now everyone just sees with the contents he is allowed to see.
Nice. That sounds cool. And it's for an American company?
Yeah, it's actually a multinational company, but they have their headquarters in Minnesota.
Nice. If you don't have a case study out there about that, it would be really great to do a case study, because I think that more people in more parts of the world should know about TYPO3 as an option for enterprise applications and websites. And one of the things that TYPO3 is great for is information-dense, information-rich websites. And my personal view of TYPO3's sort of design ethos and history and design concept is that it's come from agencies and it's built by agencies for agencies. So agencies with TYPO3 have this tool set for building large client websites well and then customizing them where they need. So large catalogs of information, large hierarchical data structures, all those sorts of things end up working really, really well in the system. And it sounds like you got to do a project that proves me right.
It was actually a really cool project. If like the first briefing was like, oh, we just need to redesign it a little bit, and then we need to do from CSC to FSC and whatever. Yeah, and that would have been such a big amount of work that actually starting fresh and just cutting everything out and just putting in the information, the documents and the customers they actually need was even cheaper than if we would have tried to upgrade it like through 2 different versions.
Right, interesting.
So that was like a win-win for everyone. We didn't have to deal with the old data, and they didn't have to spend like 20,000 euros more.
And dealing with clients, when you tell them the thing that you asked for that you think you want, we can do that for 100 money, and they'd be like, yes, fine, we'll sign that contract. Say, actually, I have this other option, and it'll get you a better result for 75 money instead. It's a real trust builder, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we actually run into that quite a lot because the people we speak to in the different companies we work for aren't always the most tech savvy people. And they are just like the speaking path to, just tell the agency to do it. So if they send us some kind of requirement and we look over it and we see that it doesn't make sense at all, they are actually really happy about our feedback. And then most times we get to speak to the people actually deciding what they want, instead of just being having this like big line of people telling people to tell people that they have to tell people something. That's actually a trust builder, because if we tell them we could do that, but it doesn't make sense, or it's going to be unstable, it's going to break really easily, or it's going to be really expensive and we could do it cheaper. That's definitely something the customers really value in our customer management or customer agency relationship. That also comes back to, I know we're on the official TYPO3 podcast, insert like slogan here. But still, if a customer comes to us and he wants a blog or something, we definitely tell him you should probably use WordPress for that. So we are not married to TYPO3 because for some projects, TYPO3 just isn't the right CMS, but vice versa. Also, WordPress does work for other things. So that's also important.
What about when you have a client who already has an existing TYPO3 instance and they want a small site? Would you just launch a separate site within a multi-site structure instead of giving them WordPress?
No, actually, we would probably use WordPress for that as well and just give them 2 separate logins, because we've done that in the past as well. We had a client who had like it's like Immo Scout, but for companies. So you could actually look for companies who were being sold. It's like
Interesting.
I don't know. They had that, and that was based on TYPO3. And they had their corporate site, which was based on TYPO3, and those ones were in the same installation. But then they also wanted a blog, and it was it was a really simple blog with just, I don't know, like 20 different functionalities. And that was actually created in WordPress because it was easier than trying to set up a blog in TYPO3.
But it's great not to be dogmatic about those choices, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's, you know.
Just because we're a TYPO3 agency doesn't mean we only have to sell TYPO3.
That's fair. And then because you do Symfony, for example, you can also build custom libraries or specialist applications that integrate into other things too.
Correct.
But back to TYPO3, what's your favorite TYPO3 feature? What's your favorite thing that it is or does?
I've talked about that quite a few times. My favorite thing about TYPO3 is that it's so structured. And I love that, especially in the newer versions, the just simple drag and drop options. It's also self-explanatory. You can structure everything just how you want it, and you can replace certain things really easily and edit them really easily. If I think about for the WordPress Gutenberg editor, for example, I'm not a fan of that because I think it's really, it's such a pain in the to I don't know, to edit content in there and to actually see how it would display in the front end, even though it's what you see is what you get editor. But yeah, I really love the content elements and the content element opportunities in TYPO3. And I love the page tree because it's so easy to navigate through the whole site without having to click like 20 different tabs open.
It's a very nice paradigm as well for the people who have to live and work in the site every day. You know, thinking beyond building a site and creating a solution and then handing it off. There are people, of course, who work in the back end and they work on content or their customer database or whatever it is. Those people knowing that top to bottom, left to right, or however it is, you know exactly where you are on the site and you can find where you're going and what to, and that can automatically be your menu structure, that can automatically be your URL structure, that can automatically be your permission structure. It's really, really helpful. It's a really useful set of shortcuts, right, for hierarchical organization.
Yeah. Again, also the permissions with the backend user rights are just so easy to configure, and you can actually configure them really easily and just create different groups with different permissions, and you don't have to worry about, I don't know, an intern doing something he's not supposed to do because he just doesn't see it simply. And that's also something I really like.
What's something that most people don't know about TYPO3 that you run into that maybe they should know?
That it's definitely not just for enterprises, because we market, like TYPO3 markets itself as an enterprise content management system. But as we said before, sometimes it makes sense to just build a smaller site with TYPO3 as well, if, for example, you know that the site is going to scale. And I think a lot of people don't know about the variety of extensions and just extension mechanisms there are in TYPO3, because basically everything can be connected to TYPO3 by now because of all the standards that have been implemented.
Right.
And I think lots of people think that WordPress, for example, is better because there are like all these plugins which you can buy. but most of the functionalities which WordPress offers in the, I don't know, is it called a plugin store or marketplace, whatever, they are available for TYPO3 as well in the extension repository. So
I think the mirror image of that is one of the things that I like. It's being designed by agencies to deliver agency projects as a paradigm. It does so much out of the box without many extensions and gives you a really great user experience and a really great base to build on. And you can get quite a long way. It does more than some systems out of the box. The clean APIs and all of the extension mechanisms then let you do that last customization however you want it.
Yeah, because most of the time, if it's like a standard corporate site, TYPO3 just has everything that the company needs. Like you don't have to install a variety of extensions just to get a running site.
Yeah.
If you use like the Bootstrap package, for example, and a simple TYPO3, you can basically create a site within a day.
What was your path to doing a marketing degree, and how does that come together with your role as the community marketing lead for TYPO3?
Well, I was thinking about which kind of focus I should set my master's degree on for quite a while, because I was struggling between IT management, which would have fit my job here better, and marketing and communications, which would have fit the TYPO3 marketing role better. But in the end, I listened to a couple of classes beforehand, and I'm just a lot more enthusiastic about marketing than I am about standard IT management and like architectural things. So yeah, I think what I'm doing at uni now will really benefit me in the long run because I would like to go more into the marketing sector of things anyways. And yeah, again, IT management would have fit my job at Marketing Factory better because that's more like the technical side of things. But to be honest, I've always been more intrigued and interested in the marketing side. And that's also why I love being the marketing team lead for TYPO3, because I just find that whole sector of marketing a lot more interesting than just the technical stuff. I love to have like a mixture of that. So yeah, I can do my day-to-day job still 5 days a week and have all of my technical knowledge here and build it here, but I can still learn about the thing that actually interests me in uni. So, and I think
there are wonderful ways to combine those, having really solid technical knowledge and having knowledge of this industry, and then learning how to communicate. There are tremendous opportunities there. Plus, you said that you like to meet new people and know what they're about. So that's more of a marketing style job than an IT management job, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a nice mixture of things because here I also do like some slide coding changes and stuff like that. I talked about that at the online community event with my colleague actually, but still I'm more interested in the like social side of things. So I think marketing just fits me better than IT management. So that's why I chose it.
At your company, is there official opportunity to contribute and be part of the community? How's the approach to being in the community work there?
Pretty much everyone's encouraged to do it because a lot of folks in our community, in our company actually do contribute in some way or another. I maybe do it a little bit more openly and more publicly than others, but we have a lot of extensions which we maintain and like all of them are in there. We have Simon, who's in the dashboard or who was in the dashboard initiative before it got merged into core. And then like Ingo is also in the BCC. And yeah, if you would like to contribute to TYPO3 in any kind of way, you're free to do it.
I have seen Ingo at a lot of community events, and he's participated in some of the community marketing sprints that I've been at over the years too.
Yeah.
Contribution is kind of encouraged. You were at the company a year before you had you found the strength to meet the community. And how did you end up being the community marketing lead?
Well, that's actually thanks to you somehow. Because I think you were the one who invited me to the first marketing sprint, which I attended.
That was very nice of me.
Yeah, that was really nice of you. Yeah, my first marketing sprint was in December of 2018 in Venlo. And I think you were the one who invited me to come there. And then I just really loved it and I was really passionate about it. And now I kind of lead it, or I try to lead it as best as I can.
What does that look like? What does the marketing team get up to?
let's start with the basics. We try to do all of the release communications for version 10, which was not too successful because we didn't really have the who's responsible for what down yet in all community, and especially in combination with the TYPO3 GmbH, because like the marketing team kind of is linked to the GmbH as well. So that was weird knowing who's responsible for what and who's able to decide what. But besides that, we now did a lot of analysis because we wanted to be able to see where we're at, just to be able to start out somehow. Because before it was kind of like, let's do this, oh, then let's do that. And we were just hopping around. So we did a competitor analysis, and now we're we're building battle cards. So actual competitor comparisons, because they were really highly asked for in our surveys, which we did.
Nice.
Just to enable decision makers to actually be able to make factual based decisions, whether they want to choose Drupal or TYPO3, for example. We did an SAO analysis, and we're still trying to get all of those results. We were working on creating more international or national landing pages to enable more people from outside the Germany, Austria, and Switzerland region to reach reach the TYPO3 community in any kind of way. We were trying to reach out to people outside of Europe, all in all. So we have Paul on the team now, who's from North America, and we're trying to get more into the North American market there, because as we all know, TYPO3 is basically not known in the USA whatsoever. It's basically
it was on its quite a few years ago now. It was on its way and it was growing, and then there was the difficult time in the community around not releasing version 5, and that turned into Neos and all of that split, and then things came back together since version 6, 7. The TYPO3 ecosystem is really professionalized and adopted all the standards that you were talking about earlier. And and I really share the goal of getting the word out in more places. And I'm really excited that there've been a couple of sprints in India, for example, and that a couple of governments in Africa actually use TYPO3, and there's been some community outreach to help them upgrade and maintain their infrastructure. I think it's an exciting time for that, and I think that in my different places that I engage with TYPO3 as a project and as a community, I think that's maybe the unifying theme is that I'd like the word to go out further.
Yeah, and that also goes hand in hand with the mentorship program, because we are not trying to reach potential customers overseas, but we are also trying to just get people to use TYPO3 and to also be able to build their own careers on TYPO3. So that's also something I'm really excited to see what comes out of that, because I think it started a month ago, maybe. And there's people from like 12 different countries who are now being mentored by people from the TYPO3 community, which help them learn about the basics of TYPO3 so that they can spread the word in their areas.
Are you involved in that, or just observing it?
I'm just an observer, and I like to talk about it.
Building advocacy, the best way that you can possibly do that is help someone make their life better, and then they'll automatically be excited about how they got there.
Yeah, and if they're excited about it, they're going to tell people in their area about it, and that's going to spread the word more like naturally than us trying to force the TYPO3 hat on someone.
Right.
Better if someone takes it and goes with it.
I would like to know what your favorite open source project is.
My favorite open source project is TYPO3, but I think that's also because I'm so deeply linked into it as of now, and I didn't really get the chance to touch into any other open source communities. So I might be a little bit biased, but from what I can observe, I really like the TYPO3 community, and I really like the project as well. So
it's a totally fair answer. I mean, everybody's experience is their experience.
Yeah.
I have a little segment in the podcast that I'm calling Suggest a Guest, and I would like you to suggest who else should be on here, a little bit like the Ice Bucket Challenge, but all you have to do is tell me who I should invite on here, what would make them an interesting guest, why they're interesting, what they're about.
That's also
and I think 3 maybe.
3 maybe. Okay. They're probably all on your list already anyways, but still. My number 1 would still be Oliver Bartsch. I think I told you about him before because I think he's one of the newer faces in TYPO3 as well. He has been pretty active before, but he now joined Benny's company, and he's really actively contributing to the TYPO3 core. And he actually wanted to contribute more, and that's why he changed his job. So I think it would be really interesting to talk to another young folk in the community who's also really motivated about TYPO3. Yeah, let's be honest. Most of the people in the TYPO3 community aren't 24.
It's true. It's true. And the fact that there a few younger faces are showing up is actually a great sign for the interestingness and the vitality of the community. So yeah. Olli Bartsch, got it.
Yeah. Obviously, Matthias Bodlesniak, because he's the one who's also pushing the TYPO3 mentorship program, and he's just basically whatever happens somewhere in the community, he's there, and he always knows about everything and always has so many great new ideas. And I just really love how his spirit and how he goes about things, and he's really enthusiastic about TYPO3. So I think you're probably going to talk to him anyways. No, am I right?
He's a very good friend of mine, and he's also on the TYPO3 Association board. And yes, he's happily has a place on my list.
And I think another one would be Rachel, because she just newly joined the board, and I think it would be really interesting to get her perspective, because she has lots of cool new ideas and she actually really wants to drive things forward. And I think she would also be a really good addition to your podcast series. Now,
Raquel Foucault, right?
Oh, it's not Rachel. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Raquel Foucault is a very interesting and very articulate person who really does have some strong ideas, and she's a powerful woman in technology doing a technical job and all of that. And she and I talked for more than an hour just last week for the podcast. So your wish is my command, Luisa. You get a free fourth choice if you'd like.
Okay, if I don't think a lot of people know him because he's my colleague, but I think Christian Spohr would be really interesting because he's actually a PHP developer, and he just did his first TYPO3 project within our company. And I think that would also be really interesting to see what he might have to add about that, because he's really into the open source part, and he's also really engaged in the PHP community. So that might be a more technical standpoint, maybe.
Right, and I'd love to get his perspective of being a PHP dev and coming into working with TYPO3, and he's got a fresh perspective on it without too much old baggage or such. That sounds like a great interview. That sounds great. Yeah. I will hit you up for his contact information. Thank you so very much. Okay, so this was Luisa Faßbender. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Thank you so much for your contributions to the community and your take on combining technical and non-technical activities to be a part of something bigger than all of us. Thank you so very much. Good luck with your studies. And it's 2020 right now, so I don't know when I will see you in person, but I hope it's not too long from now.
Yeah, same. Thank you for the chance to be on here, and thank you for your time.
Great. Thanks, Luisa.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks to the TYPO3 Association for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you, B13 and Stephanie Kreutzer, for our logo. Merci beaucoup, Patrick Gaumont, TYPO3 developer and musician extraordinaire, for our theme music. Thanks again to today's guest. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe in the podcast app of your choice and share Application, the TYPO3 Community Podcast, with your friends and colleagues. If you didn't like it, please share it with your enemies. Would you like to play along and suggest a guest for the podcast? Do you have questions or comments? Reach out to us on Twitter at TYPO3 Podcast. You can find show notes, links, and more information in our posts on typo3.org. Remember, open source software would not be what it is without you. Thank you all for your contributions.
I think you're stuck.
Hello.
Hey.
That was my side, apparently.
Yeah,
Awesome.
mine was working. You were kind of stuck in between.
So,
I don't want to say anything, but you're
oh,
stuck again.
Yeah.
And it's always
Wow.
like the most unflattering faces.
That's kind of exciting. I wonder why it is. What's one thing that people would enjoy learning about you?
Well, I don't know. What would you enjoy learning about me?
Okay, next question.